Hello, my beautiful biologists. Welcome to another biology with Miss Judd. One of the most important contributions made to the science of evolution by Charles Darwin is this concept of natural selection. Natural selection is the idea that individuals of a species, compete with each other for resources, and then those individuals that are better adapted to their lifestyle and to their environment have a better chance of surviving and therefore have a better chance of reproducing. With those individuals that are better at surviving and better at reproducing, the whole population will start to change and shift to look like those individuals. Natural selection forms the basis of our understanding of how species change over time. So I'm going to send it up to Ms. Judd in the corner to start learning a little bit more about that.
Process of natural selection. Now, if you remember from literally just the other day, natural selection was proposed as how evolution happens. Darwin was the first one to figure this whole process out that we're going to dive into today. You're going to be handwriting your notes and you want to start now. Natural selection is the process that causes a population to change to be better fit in a given environment over multiple generations. In this environment, in this picture, we have a fish species, and there's some different colors, bright green and dark green. The dark green guys are better for this rock environment than the light green guys. These guys are going to get eaten. Now, we need to remember that evolution occurs at the population level, not in individuals. Bright green fish right here, he can't just decide the next day to be dark green in order to blend in with the rocks. Over time, that fish population is going to be dark green. Think back to your organization of life for the differences between population and individuals. There are four main forces to Darwin's principle of natural selection that we're going to dive into. The first one is overproduction. Organisms produce more offspring than the environment can support. So there's a competition for limited resources. What this means is that, for example, in this butterfly population, there are too many butterflies. There's over the number of butterflies that the environment can support. So now there's a lack of food for some. There's a lack of habitat for some. There's a lack of mates for some, meaning not all the individuals are going to survive and reproduce. This overproduction means that there's some competition between all of these butterflies. Force number 2 is heritable variation. The offspring in any generation will be slightly different from one another in their traits. So their color, their size, their shape, their height, and these features are heritable. We just talked about this in genetics. In our butterfly population, some are red, some are blue, some are dark, some are light. There's some natural variation in this population, and that's going to get passed on to their offspring. Which leads me to the third force, survival of the fittest. Some individuals survive longer and reproduce more than others. The fittest individual is an organism that has the ability to survive and reproduce in the environment. Fit doesn't mean strong. Fit means enough to survive and reproduce. Every organism's goal is to pass on their genetic information. Those that can do it the best are the most fit. So, if these butterflies' habitat was a tree, a pink tree, the most fit butterfly is going to be the pink butterflies because they're going to blend in and not get eaten by the scary-looking bird. Which leads us to the last force, adaptation. Over many generations, the traits of those that survive and reproduce become more common in the population. So in our butterfly example, over time, my butterflies become more pink and red. We lose some of the blue traits because in this environment, it's not beneficial to be blue. You are better when you are a pink or red color.
Hey team, it's Ghost Miss Judd here. Now that we understand how natural selection works, how the environment pushes populations to adapt over time, I'm going to take over and talk about the different modes that this can play out in the natural world. So we're going to look at some examples, and we're going to look at different types of this natural selection. All right, so there are 3 types or modes of natural selection that we're going to go over. When we look at these, we're going to look at the population originally and then after selection. So here we have our original population. When individuals at one end of this curve have a higher fitness than individuals at the other end of the curve, the range of phenotypes shifts because individuals with adaptation cause higher fitness, have higher reproductive success. So in this case, there's selection against one extreme, which means that the ones who have the other extreme, like long, are going to be better. This is called directional selection. In directional selection, individuals at one end of the curve have higher fitness than individuals at the other. So over time, the favored extreme will become more common. What this looks like is that long tails on a lizard kind of looks like a snake and scares predators. The longer the tail, the more it looks like a snake, which means those that have a long tail are going to get eaten less, they're going to survive more and reproduce more. So the evolution by natural selection means that the lizards with short tails are going down, the lizards with long tails are going up, so the population shifts over. That's directional. If we have an original population, but individuals near the center of the curve have a higher fitness than individuals at either end of the curve, the center of the curve remains in its current position, but overall, that becomes more narrow. So we are selecting for moderate traits. Those individuals who are medium have a higher fitness. Against are the extremes. So the short and the long are going down, the medium is going up. This is called stabilizing selection. In stabilizing selection, individuals near the center of the curve have a higher fitness than either end. So over time, the average becomes more common. And we see these with cats. Short tails mess up a cat's balance. So those populations go down. Long tails drag on the ground. So those populations go down. The ones that are best are the medium. So more of my population is going to be medium, and that's stabilizing towards the average. In this case, if we have our original population, when individuals at the upper and lower ends of the curve have higher fitness than individuals near the middle, this type of selection takes place. This type of selection lowers the fitness of intermediate phenotypes. In some cases, the single curve can split. Two distinct phenotypes are created, increasing diversity within species. So what's best is to be either tall or long. What's not good, what goes down, is the medium. So my population is going to become either short or long. This is called disruptive selection. In disruptive selection, individuals at the upper and lower ends of the curve have higher fitness than individuals near the middle. This causes a split within the species. We see these with squirrels. Short tails keep predators from catching you on the ground. Long tails are good for balancing in the trees. Medium tails don't help, so we're selected against the medium, which means my short tail population goes up and my long tail population goes up. You guys, we have finished our notes. Give yourselves a little pat on the back, but you are not done. We need to finish that practice scenarios. Remember that practice is so important. I'm going to send it to Miss Judd, and then we'll be done.
All
for
right,
the
that
day.
was a lot of information, and I'm so proud of all of you and the hard work you're putting into this. Remember that if you have questions, just come to office hours, send me an email. We can walk through this and practice this all day long. You guys are great. Have a good day and make good choices.